This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing, runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, and then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in. So let's waste no time, folks. Woo-wee. Let's get to it. Story number 1, local pets need love too, folks. In harsh weather conditions and harsh living conditions, pets often get left behind. Humane agents had to remove 70 cats trapped in a filthy East Side home. The conditions were filthy, according to the report. Now, stories like this are not uncommon in the local community as living conditions get even harsher in these hard times, and animal cruelty remains in the headlines. So, story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, Valley residents have some amazing hobbies. Now, if the Valley has anything, it has hobbies. From gardening to various forms of art, the Valley has a lot of hobbies. The Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that people spend about $630 per year on hobbies alone. Now this is with most of these expensive hobbies. Some of these hobbies cost about $1,000 almost on a monthly basis. Now, this is an important stat locally because analysts will be seeing how much of an effect inflation has locally, because people won't be spending that money on hobbies. They'll probably be directing it somewhere else. So if the hobby money goes down, that means that inflation is affecting that. That's why story number 2 made it. But hobbies are good. I have a hobby. That's showing you some love with every news story, baby. Oh, yeah. Story number 3. Local schools have been creating good news, folks. That's good. Graduation is just around the corner, and a lot of local schools have had some very, very high honors to be proud of. 4 Valley students from Lakeview have earned gold at a national art competition in New York. Emily Bennett, Niles McKinley, Kellen Davis Hall, Thomas Hall, and Sophia Cinciola all won gold out of 260,000 pieces of art submitted. Now, McDonald, LeBray, Badger, Brookfield, Lordstown, and Southington students all made headlines in a drone competition. Also, East High Bears, their Destination Imagination team, has even advanced to state finals, and Hubbard has premiered a Spanish television network at their school. Now, all of these stories and the more that come in, and the more that keep to make headlines, are just shining more light on the progress that local schools are making. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, COVID stories are hanging on by a thread. COVID stories are hanging on in the news, folks. The virus that busted up the everyday life of many local people is still in the headlines. COVID-19 stories are hanging on as cases continue to go up and down. One article reporting on COVID data says that after 10 straight weeks of decline, case numbers in Ohio have seen an 11% increase. Ohio alone had 41.2 cases per 100,000 residents 2 weeks ago, bringing the article to its main point that COVID-19 is still lingering around. This data includes Mahoning and Trumbull counties. Now, this case tracker article was published Friday, April 8th by David Skolnick, and a staff writer for the Vindicator, keeping COVID-19 in the headlines. Big headlines. So I started number 4 later this week. Story number 5. ARP Funds continue to make headlines. Whew. ARP Funds stories have stayed in the news and somehow are being spread around evenly, or trying to. The most, they're trying to get everybody some money. Money. Bread. The moolah. One April 7th front page headline talked about how 17% of the federal funds have been given to the city. The local Vindicator article then goes on to talk about how the $14 million will be divided in each ward. Now, from the CARES Act all the way down to the American Rescue Plans, the new talk is what will happen once the money runs out, and how will this money be accounted for once it's used. So everybody's spending the money and getting in the black. There's people wondering how this money's going to be accounted for. Now, this seems to be the major talking point circulating around this story, because money is being rationed around to save budgets, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to accountability on behalf of government and local municipalities. How is this money going to be? How is it going to even itself out? Everybody's getting back in the black but the government. Big headline. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. What's the focus on local infrastructure means locally? So what the focus on local infrastructure means locally? So far, Ohio has invested nearly $2 billion into 829 projects across the state, and according to ODOT's public information officer, Justin Chesnick, he says inflation is not a problem. Now, in one local Vindicator article, Chesnick goes on to say that the department has multiple funds to pull from, so he's not worried about inflation. Now, this is even while local road contract bids have increased. Now, as road crews continue to make upgrades, expect traffic detours and delays. The story is still developing as road crews prepare for the hotter and summer, springtime weather. Big. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces passing them homebound. Staring blankly ahead, making my way to a story. Woo! Chocolate and cream, baby. Story number 7. Gotta loosen up for you. Story number 7 on Easter Sunday. Top story. Unless you're watching this on Monday. What will the primary elections this year tell us about Ohio's voting climate? One news report is already showing that voting is off to a slow start. Early voting has proved that poll watchers are not happy. That's what only early voting has proved. To continue on, poll watchers will also be eyeing restrictions, like restrictions or restrictions on what people can do, or what people limit themselves to do because of the new redistricting maps. So registrations is also a factor on how people are registering to vote. So you got to think about this stuff when you think about story number 7. Now, after the Ohio Supreme Court rejected 4 state legislative maps from the Ohio Redistricting Commission, the primaries will be sitting front and center this year, because people want to see what effect this has on the polls. All these restrictions and redistricting and registrations, all that stuff has changed. Now, poll watchers were not pleased with the turnout from the past few elections that were not presidential elections. Anyway, story number 7 made the top this week. Because voting is important. Everybody is talking voting. Big headline. Story number 8 at the top. Local headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Folks, if you've learned anything about me, let it be that all I do every week is give you a story. Hoo-wee. Yeah. Story number 8. How has inflation affected the local economy, folks? Organizers of festivals, activities are feeling the squeeze of inflation. That means costs are going up for fireworks, all types of stuff. Many are tightening their spending belts as they have to account for all types of things: food, like I said, the firework costs, security, and all of the other necessities or necessary costs that comes along with inflation and all that stuff they have to pay for just to have a festival. So people are cutting back, and local budgets are seeing the effects of inflation. I mean, you go to the store, you buy something to eat, it costs more. And we here in the local community don't have a lot of money. We have to make ends meet, and everybody's looking at the calculator and doing their budgets in their calculator, and that is why Story rated at the top this week, because inflation is affecting us locally, and that's why this story made it this week at the top. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Just like you made a choice to get this coin, you will have to make a choice to pass life into this world.
We have no hope, Precious. Look at us. We're both high-class girls with little-class lives.
Precious, be encouraged. Your life is about to change.
No, I didn't think maybe I just woke up and it was gone. Can you read this?
It seems you're pregnant, young lady.
There's a rat right there! That one food on us! You're out of control!
If I let you in, you must undo this mistake.
Even if you are pregnant, I'm gonna throw you down the flight of freaking stairs if I gotta get rid of this baby.
Okay, Walter, okay, I'll get rid of the baby.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Woo! Right on Easter Sunday. Woo! You know, I think that's probably an amazing story about somebody who dies and comes back to life and says, Judas, where is my money? Ooh! Ooh! They got a lot of amazing stories at Easter Sunday. But Judas, where is my money? Inflation. Whew. The cost of resurrection is high, folks. And I'll do it one more time. 3 times for 3 days of resurrection. Judas, you've been sitting here eating the supper. Where is my money? Ooh. And then I rose. He rose up like the sun on the 3rd day, folks. Well, folks, that's my story on Easter Sunday. Judas, if you're out there, brother, you were the treasurer. The ministry is going broke. Where is the money? Ooh-wee. Story, let's get to it. Story number 1. People have the power to do extraordinary things. Yes, that's outside of it. Judas. Jesus can do extraordinary things. From celebrities donate to Ukraine to 101-year-old man earning his honorary high school diploma after dropping out of school in the 1930s. Dang, that's a long time ago. Just about every day, folks, people are doing some amazing things. The retirement of one of America's oldest national park rangers is what got this story in. The amazing part about the story is not how long she worked as a park ranger, but it was her age. She did the job well into her hundreds. Wow. Now, another story is CNN Sports reports that one man paid tribute to thousands of families by putting the names of passed away loved ones on his surfboard. He said his late father, who passed away from liver cancer, was his inspiration. In a 33-year run, get this, The Simpsons featured a deaf actor on an episode for the first time in the show's history. Now, all of these stories proves that if there's one thing about a person, one person, that is that if somebody puts their mind to something, they can get it done. So if somebody says, I'm going to resurrect in 3 days, it could possibly be done. That's why story number 1 made it in this week. Big head. Story number 2. What gets smuggled into the country unnoticed can hurt us, folks. That includes scary tarantulas. Somebody smuggled those over in Cuba. That's pretty scary. Now, with over 1 million encounters at the border in the past 4 months, there is no clue what has been smuggled across the border. So nobody even knows what could be getting in unseen. Border encounters and stories have stayed in the headlines, drawing mass attention on what and who could be creeping in illegally. Title 42, a bill aimed at drug smuggling, has stayed in the headlines for 2 weeks now. So that Title 42 is supposed to stop some drug smuggling, but they're saying it could be coming to an end in May. Joe Biden. Now, Trump's remain in Mexico policy has also been in the news. Now, the scariest part about the story is the fact that no one knows what or who has made it into the country illegally. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Big head. Story number 3. Inflation stories are staying in the headlines. Democrats are on defense because inflation is eating away at the fabric of the most important part of capitalism. That's money, capital, greenbacks, money. Yeah. Market watchers have been on alert when it comes to the value of the American dollar bill. Yeah. Inflation hit a 4-decade high in March. That's money. That means money is ballooning. The dollar, you got it 4 quarters. You can't get a piece of cake for 4 quarters, 1 quarter. It probably takes 3 quarters, 4 quarters, 5 quarters. Now, this is not good news, folks, because prices rose. Wait, let me rewind this back, because let's get this right. Market watchers have been on alert when it comes to the value of the American dollar. This is real. Inflation has hit a 4-decade high in March. Now, prices have risen on the 3rd day by 8.5%, according to a CNN politics report. This is not good news for anyone seeking public office, because nobody likes when they're messing with the money of Americans. The story is still developing. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Money! Yeah. Judas! Story number 4. Voting rights stories are easing back into the news. One CNN article says that there is an attack on voting rights and Black Americans are in the crosshairs. The eye-popping headline grabs readers' attention because it's talking about voting in Black America, which everybody is talking about nowadays. Everybody! Civil rights activists feel that due to the recent attention on new voting laws, that Black Americans are being singled out. That includes Black Americans like me. Vote, I vote. I like to vote. It makes me feel like I'm doing something for the country. Now, this story has a lot to do with history and how Black Americans earned their right to vote. And other minorities are starting to see the power of voting. especially legal minorities. Now, many Republicans and voting rights activists have claimed that this is not because of race. So that's people who are on the other side are saying it's not because of race, but it's the efficiency and the seriousness geared around the right to vote. That means they don't think that some people who are voting even know what they're voting for or know what they're talking about. They're illiterate. They're saying that these people are not productive enough to be voting. Now, it is clear that this article is an attention grabber and could weigh heavily on the minority vote in the future. Another attention grabber gaining steam is in Illinois. The question is now is should prisoners be able to regain their right to vote? That's why story number 4 is such a big headline, folks. That's why I made it this week, folks. Well, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method.inc.com. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week, folks. It is Easter Sunday. And let's prepare to gather in the name of what they call our Lord and Savior, Jesus. We are going to sing a gospel song dedicated to all the resurrected people out there, the people who have been rejuvenated by the blood, reborn. Oh, this is for you, especially from the gospel hits of gathering and joining hands. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wreck like me. I was lost, but now I was blind, but now I see. Ooh-wee! Ooh, sex on Easter, baby. Ooh, I didn't mean it. I mean, resurrection on Easter. We got to keep it clean and holy, folks. Holy, yeah. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Yeah, resurrection, baby. I feel rejuvenated. Everything wrong with Putin's war is a list of everything wrong with Putin's war. Timing. The world is still battling COVID-19 and economies are still trying to recover, making a potential global conflict even harder to manage. 2, here's another one. Russia could have possibly gotten a better deal. They possibly could have out of negotiations. They could have possibly been better off economically if Putin has chosen, if he had chosen not to do a war, but if he had chosen a deal instead. Some sanctions could have also been lifted if Putin would have just used his threats as leverage in negotiation talks and didn't even invade, but just said he was going to invade and use some negotiations to get the economy back on track. Number 3, another one, is money. Russia is running itself dry, and whatever Putin's plan is at the moment with Ukraine maintaining a hold on key regions, any pushback could spell defeat for Putin. So the more Ukraine continues to defend itself, the more Putin could be losing. Number 4, there does not seem to be an end game for the Putinmeister. Now, if the end game was to go in and if the end game was to go in and conquer and revive some old Soviet lands, that doesn't seem to be working thus far. Now, Ukraine is putting up a fight, and the more of this drags on, the harder it will be for Russia to sustain itself with the world struggling economically and Russia itself struggling economically. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6, how tied together are the U.S. and China? China has secured $120 million in contracts with the United States universities in 2021, according to a Fox News report. Now, some analysts feel that this is strategic. They're saying that China also has, if you didn't know, China also has ties with Hollywood and the NBA. Now, the main reason why the story got in the headlines is due to the effects that these connections have had, could be making on U.S. culture. And that's what the people are saying, that China is trying to get a hold of the American culture. And they're saying that this is strategic, some analysts. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2, because the more buddy-buddy and the more China, United States stories seem to make it headlines, the more the marriage seems to be getting sour and sour. That's why story number 6 always made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. There can be miracles when you believe. Hope is prayer is hard to achieve. Ooh, Lord. Oh, sometimes you just gotta let it out, you know? Just let it go. Let it go. Yeah. Story number 7. America continues to have a mass shooting problem. Do not let that go. We've got to get a hold of this shooting problem, folks. People just want to shoot. The mass shooting stories just don't seem to be leaving the headlines. After a Brooklyn subway shooter left 13 wounded, the question now is, why are people committing such brutal crimes when the world has already seen enough death and destruction? This is the 3rd week in a row that a top headline pertaining to a mass shooting has made national news. Guns and gun conspiracy stories remain in heated discussions because no one wants their guns taken away, and mass shooting seems to be keeping the gun stories alive, because that's making it even more of a threat to people's guns and making it harder for people to get guns when they need to defend themselves. That's why story number 7 made it to the top 2 stories this week. Oh, big headline. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Getting jiggy with it. La 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 la. Getting jiggy with it, baby. Woo, yeah. Ooh, ooh, wee. Story number 8, get jiggy with it. How the cost of living is impacting the workforce. That's big. Inflation means higher costs, so that means you need to make more money to be able to afford that higher cost. Now, that's why the cost of living is impacting the workforce. People are now complaining about wages, and employers are complaining about the higher cost to maintain a workforce. Public service workers have been feeling the squeeze also. Even with pay raises, there has been a 3% drop in spending power. Now, that's the biggest fall in 20 years. One article says that workers bought 0.5% less than they usually do. Another article says that the cost of living is rising at its fastest pace in 30 years. These are some of the job numbers in the UK, or some of these stats that I just pointed out. Now, in America, there's plenty of jobs to fill, but according to most reports, there's a slow push for people to fill them. That means nobody's getting back to work. Some have just left the workforce completely. Some people have started trying to open up their own business. Now, just like the UK, America is feeling the burn of inflation, folks. And that's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. I'm so exhausted in the stories. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it in, folks. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the media, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Every week, I'm going through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed, folks. So be safe and have a good Easter. And if you watch this tomorrow, I hope you had a good Easter. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.